Hey everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Cullen Bunn. I have not done one of these live broadcasts in more than a minute for various reasons, but I'm happy to be back. I'm going to try to get back on the bandwagon of doing these a little more frequently, so that we can talk and you can ask questions and I can tell you about the books that are coming out and just have a good time. So another thing I haven't done in a minute is I haven't gone on a trip to a convention or a book signing, but I am getting ready to go on a tomorrow. I'm going to be driving down to my friend Jimmy Z. Johnston's store, the Little Shop of Comics in Cuba, Missouri. And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit, but I'm excited about it because I haven't had a chance to interact with people face to face, in comic book shops in a long time. So I'm going on a little trip tomorrow. So I've spent part of the day preparing for that. As always, the lovely Cindy Bunn is working behind the scenes, helping me run the camera and everything. So and run the broadcast. But I've been doing a lot of work. I have a lot of comics that I am currently working on. A lot of creator-owned stuff. I'm also working on some stuff for Valiant. If you follow me on my newsletter, you see all the stuff that I've got coming up in the works and hints of stuff that's coming down the pike. But I want to tell you about a few books that are coming out this week, because I didn't even realize it. I have 4 books coming out tomorrow. And I'm going to try to share my screen. I don't have copies of all of them yet, but I have 4 books coming out tomorrow. And those are, let's see if I can do this correctly. Look at that. So we have the first up is Parasomnia, which is coming out from Dark Horse. This is Parasomnia number 2, comes out tomorrow. It is, if you haven't read the first one, I'm certain they are still available in comic shops, or you can get them online. But Parasomnia number 2 comes out tomorrow. It is a story about a man and wife who have lost their child. Their child has been abducted. And there's sort of this sense of hopelessness that this man feels, and it's destroyed his life. He's lost everything because of it. And but at the same time, in the dream world, there is this nameless figure, this hunter, who is searching for a missing child. And there's a connection between the two that we explore as the first 4-issue arc plays out. It's a 4-issue arc initially, and then we will, we're going to move forward and do, the plan is to do more arcs of the story. So, fingers crossed. Next up is the last book you'll ever read. I'm very excited about this one. This is my first project with Vault. It is illustrated by Layla Lays. It's going to be a really awesome series. If you haven't heard about it, it's a story about an author who is on a book tour, but the book that she has written may or may not be causing the people who read it to descend and devolve into sort of this bestial nature. And it's the book that I will be going to sign tomorrow at Little Shop of Comics. Jimmy Z has commissioned a special edition of that book, a special variant cover that you can only get technically only from him. I'm going to be signing them all day tomorrow. If you are within driving distance of the Little Shop of Comics, it's well worth going. I've never been to Jimmy's new location, but from what I hear, he has an amazing restaurant built into the store. So I'm excited about that. And like I said, there is a variant cover of the book that you can get only from Jimmy's store. But I have set up a way for you to get it if you can't come to the store, because we're awesome that way. So if you can't come to the store, you can get the last book you'll ever read. I'm going to try to get a copy of it up here on the screen so you can see what it looks like. I didn't prepare well enough, I guess. What a jerk. So there is a way you can get this cover. It is, well, sort of right there. It looks like it's flickering on my screen, but it's see, the last book you'll ever read. I don't know if it's flickering for you guys, or if it's just flickering for me. Something's not right. It's a Chris Shehan cover. It's gorgeous. You can get them online if you can't come to the store. You can order it. I will put a link on the discussion on the notes of the show, but it's just cullenbunn.bigcartel.com. You can go there and you can order a copy of the book. I'll sign them tomorrow. If you want to sign, if you want it unsigned, they'll be there tomorrow as well. And Jimmy's going to ship them out right after the signing, so you'll get it pretty soon. They are very limited. There's less than 500 of these being printed of this cover, and I think they're going to go quickly. I think the book's going to go quickly. If you haven't pre-ordered it with your local comic shop, make sure that you do that. Well, do that for future books, but make sure you stop in your store to get it, because I have a feeling that this book will go pretty quickly. There's also some stores will get these and some won't. There's also a very cool polybagged adults only cover that I've seen the cover. It's a doozy. You can only see you can only get it if you grab the book and tear it open and open it up. I'm not going to share it with you online because who knows who's watching. But it's a very cool polybagged edition that you can get as well. So keep an eye out for that. And there's there's another cover that will come out tomorrow of that book as well. That is the Jen Hickman version of the cover. Also comes out tomorrow, which looks like this, which is also another very cool cover of the last book you'll ever read. It is going to be an 8-issue series, and it's one of those books that even as writing it, it surprises me. So hopefully it'll surprise you as well. Let's see. The next book we have coming out tomorrow is Shadow Man #4. This book is the last issue of the current arc. And then I've had a lot of questions about Shadow Man in the last week because issue 5 has not been solicited, and they are going to be taking a break between issue 4 and issue 5. I can't remember how long it's going to be, but it is definitely not ending. I am working on the second arc right now. I'm working on the things that are happening after the second arc of Shadow Man. I'm working on things that happen after that. So there's big plans for Shadow Man. This issue, don't let people spoil it for you. It's got a big reveal at the end of the issue. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to like it. I can't wait to see what people think about it. But that comes out tomorrow as well. And then I think the last thing that's coming out tomorrow is Phantom on the Scan #4. That also comes out tomorrow. This is the issue 4 of a 5-issue series that'll be popping up. This is sort of a psychic horror story about 5 psychics whose abilities are seeming to kill them, and it's them trying to solve the mystery of why their psychic abilities are killing them, and what they can do to stop that. And this is the penultimate, one of my favorite words, the penultimate chapter of that book. So those books are all coming out tomorrow. And please feel free if you have questions, if you put them in the comments, we will see them, and we'll pop in through the, we'll pop in. I'll try to answer them. And I'm glad to see in some of the comments, it does look like that flickering on the last book you'll ever read. That wasn't just me seeing it. So that's creepy. And who knows, a portent of some kind, a portent. Other things that just real quick, just to talk about, if you haven't picked it up yet, The Ghoul Next Door is out from HarperCollins. This is available at any bookstore. It may not be at your comic shop. It depends on if they order and have accounts with HarperCollins, but you can get it in any bookstore, Amazon. This is a graphic novel. It's for middle readers, and I'd say 8 to 12-year-old, but it's also for creepy adults and older kids as well. Kids at heart. It's a lot of fun. Kat Ferris and I did this book together. Like I said, it just came out. It's been getting great reviews. If you have read it and you like it, make sure to leave us a review on Amazon, because that stuff helps. But this is out, and it is out in hardcover. It's out in softcover, and it's out for Amazon. Or for Kindle. But I know they're at Barnes and Nobles. You can get them from Walmart. You can get them at Target. So make sure you pick that up, because it's a book I'm really proud of. Brendan says that his 6 to 8-year-old kids both tore through The Ghoul Next Door and they loved it. Thank you, Brendan. Thanks to them. I'm glad they liked it. And Brendan and I also are doing videos together. You might we did one recently. It's fun to watch where and Brendan, if you have a link if you can tell people where to find it, I'll post that up as a comment. But we reviewed the Gotham City cocktail book, and we each made like several cocktails, and that was a lot of fun. And we just recorded another one that hasn't gone out yet, but another fun video that we just did just this week. Thank you, Stephen, for saying that. Six Gun is the greatest comic books. It is the greatest comic book series you've ever read. I appreciate that. That's a book I'm really proud of. It's one of the books that if people ask me what book, if they've never read something of mine and they say, what should they read first? The Six Gun is it's either The Six Gun or Harrow County is what I always tell them. Those are the two books that I would start with for my stuff. Not that I don't like the other stuff, but those are the books I think are the most reflective of who I am as a creator. So it means a lot when that other people are enjoying those books. And it's great because I still see people who are just now getting The Six Gun. I saw it just yesterday. Some people talking about they were reading The Six Gun for the first time on social media. So that's awesome. And hey, read The Ghoul Next Door. If your kids can read The Ghoul Next Door, and then they can just graduate a little bit older, they can read The Six Gun, because I think it's a great book for teens. And then, yeah, we can go on to Harrow County, which is also a great book for teens. Mark, thank you. There is definitely a dark sense of humor in The Ghoul Next Door. It is, it is a book for kids, but it's also a book about a boy who befriends a ghoul. And a ghoul in this world are these creatures that feed on the dead. So that's for a kid's book, that's kind of a creepy conceit, I suppose. But it's a lot of fun, and yeah, we embrace it. We use a lot of humor in it to kind of soften the blow of these people are eating dead bodies. Gross. But I think it's I think it's a fun book. I think, and the humor is how we deal with it. Eric, thank you. Yes, Cindy and I celebrated our 17th anniversary I guess it's been 10, 11 days ago, but just recently. Thank you for that. She has put up with me for 17 years. longer than 17 years. And she was there with me when I was trying to break in as a writer. She was instrumental in me actually becoming a writer, because for those of you who don't know the story, I had a job. I was working as a vice president of marketing, and I had a meeting with my boss, and it wasn't a really good meeting. I was amazing at my job, but sometimes I tell people what I think, and they don't like it. I got to learn. I try to break myself of that habit, and I can't. But it was not a good meeting, and I walked out of the meeting, and I picked up the phone. I called Cindy, and I said, "Hey, are you going to be all right if I quit my job? And will you give me 6 months or 3 months, something like that, to try to make this, make it as a writer?" And she there was no hesitation. She agreed, and I quit my job the next day, and I gave them a month's notice. And then after that, I haven't looked back since. So, well, I've looked back. There have been some tough days in comics too, because of that same thing where I say what I think and people don't like it. And that has, again, I have yet to learn that lesson. I'm going to make myself a note right now to stop doing that so readily. Jeremiah, yeah, in a way, yeah. The ghouls in The Ghoul Next Door are definitely inspired by the ghouls from Lovecraftian and Cthulhu mythology, but they're also I draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of different sources, really. But yeah, that's definitely part of it. And in The Ghoul Next Door, we're building a completely new mythology around them. And there's a town that we're creating, and it has tons of different stories and myths around this town. And it's going to be it's going to be a big, it's world building, which is what I like. And we're working on the second book. I've had a few people ask me about that. And yeah, it's the second book's underway. Will come out next year. I'm pretty sure it's next year. Hey, there's my bud, Gary Bedell. Gary is an amazing artist. Just so everybody, if you aren't familiar with Gary's work, you should become familiar with it. He's an amazing artist. We worked together on a story in Graveyard Slaughter, but Gary also designs logos. Like, he designed the logo for my book Eden with Aftershock. And he designed another logo for a book that hasn't been announced yet. And he's awesome. And yes, sometimes saying what you really feel gets things done. You're absolutely right, especially in marketing. And I am not, I believe people need to speak and say what they think. I'll tell you where my problem came in with some of this is I'm a guy who I tend to try to do things for people. I'm the guy that says, sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll take care of that. Sure, no problem. We'll I'll address this. Sure, I'll take care of that one-day deadline that you have. And that's great too, in moderation, because the moment then you say no, just the fact that you said no about something or disagreed seems almost shocking to the person you're talking to. If they're used to you being the person who agrees all the time, they react with a and then you become the bad guy. So my least favorite thing to do in the comic industry, like the thing I hate doing. All right. That's an interesting question. Probably not. How about I not tell you my absolute least favorite thing? And I think it's not even a least favorite thing, but there's a lot of stuff that gets in the way of actually writing. That there's a lot of stuff that you have to do when you're a writer that isn't writing. There's a lot of interviews and working on solicit text and social media and marketing the book, because a lot of that falls to the writer or the creative team. So there's a lot of that stuff, and it's not that it's my least favorite thing to do, but definitely it's not my favorite thing to do. It's not writing. So that's That's it. That's my my diplomatic answer. I mean, there's plenty of things I don't want to do, or I dislike comics, but I'm not going to tell you those things. Hey, how soon before we see issue 3 of Democratic Grant? Great question, and I say, and I'm sure tomorrow when I'm visiting Jimmy, who co-wrote the series with me, we're going to have a debate on if it's Democritus or Democritus. It's one or the other. We don't know. We say it differently. But to answer your question, issue 3 and 4 are done. The art's done. The story's written. They have not been lettered yet. So we're going to be posting those on Kickstarter pretty soon. The only thing that's holding us up is Beyond Mortal. The last Kickstarter I did is lagging a little bit behind. Letters haven't been finished on the book yet. So as soon as we can get letters finished on the book, and we can get the book to the designer, which won't take long, and get our PDF, at least the PDFs out, and get the book to the printer, which again won't take long to turn around, and then they'll start shipping out by mail. So once we get the PDFs out, we'll probably launch the Kickstarter for issues 3 and 4 of Democritus Brand will be coming out. But yeah, they're done. We're working on issues 5 and 6 right now. Well, our grandmother definitely said what she thought, without a doubt. Any chance of a collected agent? So Vic, I don't know. Has there not been a collected omnibus of the remainder and of our run? It seems like such a no-brainer, but I don't know. I have no way of knowing what the chance. I mean, is there a chance? Yes, but I don't know if there's any plans for it or discussion of it. It would definitely be. I think it would be a cool book. I know that the trade paperback collection of my Venom stories has gone out of print. I think it's kind of tough to find. So maybe, I mean, there's another Venom movie, so they tend to do books like that around that kind of thing. But who knows? Hopefully, I think it'd be a cool book to have. I want a copy. I would want that. Yeah, so just collected edition so far, but again, there's always a chance, but who knows? I can't tell you what these people think. The folks who control the reins on collected editions and hardcovers, they don't listen to me. Probably for the best. Who is someone you haven't worked with that you'd really like to work with? I mean, it's a long list, Eric. There's a lot of people I'd like to work with. I've been very lucky with who I've had the chance to work with over the years. There's a few names that pop up immediately in my head. I'd love to do something with like Alan Davis, who was an artist I just really admired. A lot of people who have followed me for a long time know that one of the first pitches I ever sent out with art was with Chris Somney. And before Chris and I, either one of us were working professionally in comics. And aside from that pitch and a few other things we tried to put together, and then a few covers he did with me, we've never been able to work together. So Chris Somney is kind of high on that list, I guess, because I feel like we've gotten close on it so many times in the past. Camos, yeah. So, and it's a trade paperback, right? And it's a very cool trade paperback, but I believe that's out of print too. I ended up doing a hardcover. I bound my my individual issues into hardcover for my own personal collection, unless you have one of those, which I did sell a couple of them, like at conventions and online, I think. But yeah, that was that trade was really cool because it was super thick, but I think they're kind of hard to come by now. Yes, Mark, I am also looking forward to the next project with Brian Hurt. We've got so many in the works. He is currently drawing the first or second issue of the next series we're doing together. And then we have a ton of other little things that we are doing together on the side or planning to do. I'll be working with Brian until the wheels fall off. It's he's one of my favorite collaborators, and I'm honored to work with him every time I get the chance. Yeah, so that Venom trade's listed at $199.95. I wish I'd have saved a whole bunch of my comps, and I could sell them for that. I can't imagine people are paying that, but okay. Hey, if you really want it and you're willing to pay $199 for it, go for it. Career goals to do a Cullen Bunn cover, like a cover of me, because then I could like pose in a dramatic way, and you could do an image of me. But who knows, man? There's so many covers coming out now, and so many books, and I've got so many projects in the works. So keep striving for that goal for sure. Okay, I get it. Not a cover of me. Very well. Whatever. I think that was a good idea. I think there should be a cover of me. Actually, there is. Kyle Strom did a cover that features me on the graphic novel of A Passage in Black. And I don't know that Kyle draws a very flattering picture of me, but there it is. There is a cover with me on it. My old adversary, Mr. Macabre. I don't know what the odds are of getting another Pumpkinhead run, because I don't know if Dynamite, for instance, still has the license for it. I mean, it would be really cool. I'd love to do another one. I love that creature. I just pre-ordered that giant Kacharik Brothers Pumpkinhead statue, which is just absolutely an amazing statue. It doesn't come out till next year sometime, but if you haven't seen it, you should go look at that thing because it's awesome. Kyle and I had another book that we really went far, together developing, and he wasn't drawn. We were co-writing it, just like with Unearthed, and we didn't. It kind of fell to the wayside. So maybe I was thinking about that book today, because I'd love to see another. I'd love to take another shot at doing it. I can't even tell you what that book's about because I don't want to spoil it. But it was awesome and fun and sort of chaotic and crazy. Chaotic crazy. That was its alignment. Yes, Mark, I agree. We need yet another Aftershock Omnibun. I think we'll get one. I think it's sort of a foregone conclusion, because we had the first sort of Omnibun was the Dark Arc big hardcover Dark Arc collection, and then there was All My Little Demons, which collected everything after Dark Arc until whatever series it was. I don't know, but it doesn't have Phantom in the Scan. It doesn't have Eden. It doesn't have Piecemeal. It doesn't have the other things that I'm working on for Aftershock. So I think it's a foregone conclusion that we will eventually have another Omnibun. I would hope, because I think it'd be a cool set to, I want to keep building in that set. I like them. I like those hardcovers. The strangest request from a fan at a show or signing. I'm sure I will think of something else after this. I mean, there's a guy that comes around every convention, not every convention, but like to this one convention every time I'm there, and he has me sign an apple. That's kind of weird. But there was also a guy that came up to me one time dressed as he was dressed as Moon Knight, and he wanted my advice on how he could become a real vigilante, which was also weird. My advice was, don't do that, because you're going to end up getting seriously injured or killed. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that's every time there's always fun stuff and interesting stuff that happens at the conventions, and I always want to write them down to remember them. I should write them down, but I always want to think that I'm just going to remember them, but I don't. My favorite thing was not me. It's still my favorite. At Planet Comic-Con years ago, Matt Kent was sitting next to me, and this guy came up, and Matt was doing free sketches of characters from his books. And this guy came up for a free sketch, and he said, "Hey, would you draw Spider-Man for me?" And Matt said, "Well, I'm not really drawing other characters. I'm drawing characters from the books I create." And the guy said, "Well, what kind of stuff do you do?" He says, "Well, this book, Super Spy, is about spies and espionage." And the guy said, "Could you draw me a Spider-Man?" And Matt, I'm pretty sure Matt did draw him a Spider-Man, because that was such an awesome moment. But yeah, speaking of conventions, I have added a couple of conventions I've added one convention to my schedule. If you follow my newsletter, you'll see I've put an event schedule, a couple of signings, and a couple of one convention, which is Planet Comic-Con next month. Assuming, look, it's all tentative right now, and it assumes on spikes and safety and everything else. But my plan is right now to be there. And you can get to that if you go to my website, cullenbunn.com, or if you find me on Twitter, or you check out, if you go to Twitter in my profile, I've got a link to my link tree, which has all my links. You can go up there and you can follow that stuff in order to keep track of where I'm going to be and what I've got coming out and things like that. Yes, New York Comic-Con it's one of my, the last time Cindy and I went to New York, we had a great time and it was awesome. The convention was crazy and super crowded, but we had fun. It's not in the cards this year. And really, anymore, I can almost only go to conventions if they are going to invite me up and bring me in as a guest. Otherwise, it's just such an expensive. You guys go to conventions, you know how expensive they are, but it can be pretty tough. That's not a never say never. I love just going to New York Comic-Con just to spend the time in New York, and it is a pretty great convention. So, but if there are conventions you want to see me at, you need to talk to the convention organizers and get them to invite me. That's awesome. So do I prefer larger or smaller conventions? It's tough. From a purely work perspective, when I go to one of these conventions, I'm essentially taking those days off of writing. I can't write, if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, I can't write those days. So I'm taking those days off. And usually there's a day of travel before and after, so it's a few days. So if I'm gonna, and I don't make money at conventions, even when I have big displays of books and I'm selling a lot of stuff, it seems like I don't typically walk away with a lot of money. I would make more money working and writing. So it's not a matter of preferring larger conventions, but I feel like I get more bang for my buck out of those larger conventions because I'm seeing more people. That said, I like a good small convention too. I mean, I enjoy, like, if I'm going to go to a convention as a fan, I want to go. The smaller conventions tend to be the ones I'd rather go to. I think. Ask me again tomorrow. I'll answer it differently. That's a great question, Jeremiah. So my favorite horror short story to comfort read. I have a lot. I mean, there's a lot of them, but there are a lot of collections that I tend to go back to and read when I'm just I like to comfort read, like you said, or when I feel like I need to be inspired. Brian Keene has a number of great collections. No Rest for the Wicked. Skeleton Crew by Stephen King is awesome. Joe Lansdale's short stories are amazing, like Bestsellers Guaranteed. I read that. I'll read that, or I'll read Dead in the West. Again, I just got Joe's new Horror West. I haven't even had a chance to read it yet. Hungry Snow. I just got that. Bentley Little short stories. There's a story called Hell Creek, which was written by, I guess, Carl Wagner. And there's a collection of short stories by Bruce Jones, the comic book Bruce Jones, who also did prose short stories back in the late 80s. This book came out, and I'll return to that book every now and again. And but I love the Borderlands collection of short stories. All of those books are awesome. So that list goes on and on and on for me. There's just so many of them that I love returning to over and over again. What comics do I read right now, if any? I've been reading the Vault stuff, like the Autumnal. I've been reading Dennis Hopeless's Exo Manowar. I get a lot of different people sending me their samples of their books, and I get to read some great material. I read the AWA stuff. I don't really have a comic shop that I go to on a regular basis anymore. I mean, I haven't been to a comic shop in a long time now. So tomorrow will be my first time at a comic shop in a while, and I will I'll give you a report on which comics I bring back, and we'll see which ones I'm really enjoying. How do I write dialogue? So dialogue is it can be for me, it's a never-ending battle of how to do it, because I change and I do it differently every time. It's important for me to try to make the characters sound real. I don't want I worry less about I don't worry about them saying it perfect English or anything like that. That's nonsense. I want it to sound like people talking, and you will hear me as I'm working, talking to myself, speaking out loud, trying to get that dialogue right. I'll in many ways I'll act it out as I'm writing. Some writers write all the dialogue first before they write anything. And I've done that, and that's not a bad way to do it. Is you could just write out all this different dialogue, and then you can go in and write the panel descriptions and plug the dialogue in. I know some people wait until they've written all the panel descriptions and then they write the dialogue, or they wait until the art is done and then they write the dialogue. And I hate that. It's miserable, and I do it every now and again for whatever reason. I get this idea that it's going to save time, and it ends up making things worse. So what I have to do is, the best way for me is, as I'm writing the panel descriptions, I write the dialogue then, and then I type it out. And yeah, you'll hear me speaking it out, and I'll type it, and I go on there. And if I really get stuck, I might write a line of dialogue that says, he says something about the end of the world here, and I'll just come back to it later. But I try not to leave massive pieces of dialogue waiting. And the other thing I'd say is, just write it, even if it doesn't sound right. And the first time around, you can rewrite it and make it sound better the next time. Get the idea of what you want them to get the idea of what you want them to say out there, and then you can fix it and make it sound right later. There's always rewrites. Well, it's interesting, but I wouldn't say, again, this might be a villain that I've not written before. So just stay tuned, and that's probably a ways off of anything happening with that. But yeah, it might not be a villain I have written before. Favorite candy? Sour Patch Kids. Sour Patch Kids, and then like a candy bar, probably like Take Five. Take Five is a great. Oh, Henry's were good. I don't know if they still make Oh Henry's, but we could talk about candy bars and candy all day long, because I'm not eating candy right now. So I really like thinking about it. Yeah, now I'm going to think about candy. Spaceman Stiff. That okay, sorry about that. And the Beyond. I don't know. I don't know that Spiff might not be worse than Stiff. What are a few of your all-time favorite, greatest horror comics of all time that you consider we all should read? Well, obviously, I'm going to say Swamp Thing by Alan Moore is a must. I think Sandman by Neil Gaiman is a must. I really, and some people probably don't agree with me on this, the Bruce Jones Hulk from the 90s, I guess, or early 2000s. I can't remember. But those Bruce Jones Hulk issues were amazing, astonishing to me. I loved them. Preacher, not necessarily full-blown horror story, has horror elements, but I'd say Preacher. And then I would definitely say the EC comics, all those great EC collections. And then I love the Charlton horror comics. I love like House of Mystery from DC and all those books too. So any of that stuff's great. And Flinch, Vertigo's Flinch was a great horror anthology comic. And yes, I was trying not to. I thank you, Mark, for having my back there. I was trying not to name my own books, but definitely Harrow County is a must if you haven't read it. There's a few others. Cullen read them all. I don't like that. I do not like playing those kind of games, Eric. To the point that I don't even like when Cindy and I go to a comic shop somewhere, I don't introduce myself. I don't say, "Hey, I'm Cullen Bunn," and I don't want people like Cindy likes to say, "Oh, look at this book on the shelf." Who, she'll pick up, look what I found on the shelf, and try to draw attention to it, and it embarrasses me. I don't like it. And I don't do it. And what I want is to walk into the comic shop and for them to recognize me, and I want them to start clapping as I walk in. That's what I need. And until that happens, I will not introduce myself, and I definitely won't play games with "Is this a good book?" Although I guess it sounds like it could be fun, but it could also be heartbreaking. Would Moon Knight as an option to write? Would it be someone you would be interested in? I feel like Moon Knight is a little off his rocker. It'd be a great horror story. So I've written Moon Knight. I wrote a 5-issue run of Moon Knight a few years back. Each issue, and I think they're still available in trade paperback. Maybe not. Each issue is sort of a standalone story. So I've written Moon Knight. I love the character, and then I wrote a Moon Knight annual maybe 2 years ago, where Moon Knight and Kang duke it out. Yes, I'd love to write Moon Knight again. I love that character. I don't think it'll ever happen, but yeah, it'd be a fun character to get back into. But yeah, there were 5 issues. It wasn't like number 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was I want to say my run might have been, I can't remember if mine was the middle run or the later run. But yeah, it's you missed it, but go get it. It's awesome. It has one of my favorite issues that I wrote for Marvel in it. One of those stories was certainly awesome. I did see the Afterlife trailer, and it gave me chills from beginning to end. Almost, it was a great trailer. The movie looks awesome. I am a big Ghostbusters fan from way back, and yeah, I'm super excited for that movie. I'm super excited to watch the Ghostbusters movies with my kid before we go see that movie. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It looks really great, I think. Well, sure. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? And more important question is, who wouldn't want me to be in their show about a book I wrote? I mean, I could be the clerk at the hotel, paging Mr. Bunn, Mr. Cullen Bunn. You know, I could do that. They would probably they'd change my voice out, but that's all right. But yes, I wouldn't mind doing that. First, we got to get another show or movie out there. That's the first step. We'll see if it happens. All right, so I got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions if you have them. If not, I will go ahead and just remind you that if you haven't, if you are going to be within driving distance of the Little Shop of Comics tomorrow, come see me. I'll be there pretty much from the time they open till at least around 6:30. And then I will. And then you can also order that book, signed or unsigned. You can order multiple copies from the link that I shared earlier, which is this one. You can grab it there at Cullen Bunn at cullenbunn.bigcartel.com. I'm selling them for there. I'll sign them tomorrow. Jimmy will ship them out right after that. So if you haven't got it, get your copy now. Yes, absolutely. If you bring the book in, I will sign it. So yeah, bring whatever you want. The typical thing I say. So I've changed a little bit. Like at conventions, I do now these days. I sign 5 things for free, and then there's a small charge for books over 5. And I just had to start doing that for various reasons. But at comic shops, I don't, bring your books in. I'll sign them. If you bring a big stack in and there's a lot of people, I may have to, maybe step aside and let me sign some other people or something like that. But then I'll get to them and take care of you. So. Do I? I do, but the problem is those restraining orders expire upon death, and Mr. Macabre is risen from the dead once again, I guess. So no restraining order against him. Are you kidding? These days I actually miss Mr. Macabre a little bit, which that's bizarre, right? I miss that skull-faced leprechaun. All right, this is it. This is Jeremiah's taking us out. If I had to be devoured by a Lovecraftian monster, which would you choose? Random last question. Well, I think like Azathoth, it would just be like instant destruction, right? so I wouldn't. There's no chewing involved. I mean, when I want to get, if I'm going to get eaten by a monster, I don't want to be. I don't want to be eaten by a monster that's really going to chew. I don't want a lot of. I don't want a lot of tooth on gristle and bone action. So Azathoth, I feel like I just be obliterated. So there we go. Obliteration by Azathoth. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for spending a little time with me. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Cullen Bunn. You can go to my website, cullenbunn.com. I have a Discord channel where if you want to talk throughout, you want to talk all over, however often you want to talk, we can exchange messages on my Discord server and talk about all sorts of nonsense. I noticed a lot of people on here tonight are people who are also members of the Discord server. You can find that all from that link tree that I mentioned. And if you go to my Twitter, it's right. There's a link to it. The link tree, it has links to all my stuff, newsletters, Discord server, whatever. If you go to my website, you can get to it from there as well. So definitely check that stuff out. Look for those 4 books that I mentioned that are coming out tomorrow. If you're at your local comic shop, tell them how much you enjoy those, my books, and make sure they order more. Look for The Ghoul Next Door. If you haven't already, try to pick this up. I think you're really going to love it. Whether you're a kid, you have kids, don't have kids, you're going to love this book. But as always, most importantly, thank you so much for the support. Thanks for joining me. And I will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.